there are like certain interventions that are about analyzing your thoughts. Let's look at it like left brain and right brain. So some of therapy, which is important, one whole layer of it is, and this is kind of where therapy came from, was psychoanalysis that turned into cognitive behavioral therapy, and a few other interventions that were very much about understanding things from a rational and reasoned perspective, the Socratic method of thinking. So what's the evidence for that thought? And so is that a rational thought or an irrational thought? And there's a lot of value in that, but that's not going to use any imagination. That doesn't evoke imagination. That evokes the rational mind. Mm-hmm. And the rational mind is very important. And some therapies and some therapists, they just hang in that circle. They hang in that sphere of, if you can grasp things rationally, which presupposes objectivity, I think. But if you can grasp things rationally, then you can see that some of your thoughts or experience is not rational. It's like tricking you. It's like a hall of mirrors kind of thing. And so it's kind of like you just learn to dismiss that. Don't take it seriously. And in some ways that's helpful, I think, definitely. But the way that I've been taught and trained in therapy from a trauma-informed perspective and in the experiential model is that's not enough. I don't think that's ultimately going to be helpful for most people, because there's a whole other side of our experience, which is the right brain. This is the realm of intuition, imagination, like space-time, our sense of time and space, and creativity and abstraction and emotion. And so that's where all the imagination is. And in my view, if you can't access that part, you won't fully heal. You're just going to be in that first layer of learning how to cope. But imagination is kind of going back to invoking the inner child, where the first part of our brain when we're born is the right brain. That's the brain that's online, and which is why children are so magical in that way, and so imaginative and free and unbound, unbridled in that way. So I think the rationality piece, the left brain piece, is the last piece. I don't even worry about that unless we need to up front. That's like the capstone. That's the one that retells the story. You know what I mean? That's the narrator at the end. That sums it all up.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
But the imagination, the right brain, this is the deep work, the experiential work. And psychodrama is one of those interventions we've played around with a little bit, that just it bypasses left brain completely. Don't worry about that. Let's get right into the weird kind of goo, So yeah, I think I think that probably is a good way to explore that. Mm-hmm. Is rationality and reason are good. And you can see this too in the division between East and West in many ways, and cultural divide. The Western world has definitely, children of the Enlightenment. We are, and we've built, there's a lot of value in that, and the scientific method was kind of refined and polished up in that movement. And then that led to the Industrial Revolution, which lifted so many people out of poverty for the first time in the entire planet. And there's so much value to it, but also it can become like this rational machine that dehumanizes when it's taken too far. And in our culture, we're experiencing all of that.